Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like you have done it, you are doing it, and it looks like you're going to continue to do it for the foreseeable future. What am I talking about? What I'm talking about is what is going to go down in American history as the greatest economic boycott since the days when the colonists dumped the tea into Boston Harbor. Continued sales numbers come in about Bud Light ever since they entered into their controversial advertising campaign with TikTok star and transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney. And you, the American people, are absolutely putting a hurting on Anheuser Busch. We've got updated numbers. Hang on, we're going to get into everything in just 1 second. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your front porch conservative. Step on up to my electronic front porch and let's talk. Like many on social media, we've been following this controversy that's ensued ever since the beginning of April when Anheuser-Busch's Bud Light division entered into a marketing agreement with TikTok star and transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney to be a spokesperson for Bud Light. Now, the reaction has been swift and furious. I won't go back over all of that, but I said some weeks ago it would take some time before we begin to see what kind of effect this was going to have on the sales of Bud Light. Well, the evidence has been coming in. We have the most recent numbers that are up to date, and let me tell you something. This boycott has got legs and it's running. I want to take you to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch online in an article that was published on May 1st. Take a look at this. Headline: Bud Light sales continue to plummet after transgender marketing controversy. Reading into the article, sales of Bud Light have been plunging since the company enlisted the help of transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney in a marketing campaign a month ago. Now listen to this. In the week that ended April 22nd, which, by the way, are the most up-to-date numbers, the brand's in-store sales plummeted more than 26%, according to figures reported by Bump Williams Consulting, a Connecticut-based firm that specializes in the alcohol beverage industry. And the decline is only accelerating. The week before, sales dropped 21%. The week before that, anyway, moving on into the article, Bud Light is still the best-selling beer in America by far, said Bump Williams, the founder, president, and CEO of the agency that bears his name. In 2022, Anheuser-Busch InBev sold more than $4.8 billion worth of it in stores, far outpacing Modelo Especial and Michelob Ultra. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's the kicker, and pay close attention to what Bump Williams says about this. But if the company can't stop the decline in sales, especially as the peak beer drinking summer season approaches, then Bud Light is in serious trouble this year, and I think it runs the risk of losing that number one position at the end of calendar year 2023 to Modelo Especial, Bump Williams said. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take in the impact of what has just been said. Bud Light, under normal circumstances, outpaces every beer in America as far as sales. In 2022, over $4 billion. Their closest competitor was Modelo Especial. At the rate this is going, according to analysts who are looking at this, it's altogether conceivable, if Anheuser-Busch doesn't find a way to stop the bleeding, that by the end of this year, another competitor could take over the number one sales spot in the United States for beer sales of a particular brand. That is how much of an effect this boycott is having. The sales are just falling through the floor. I'm going to show you some images here in just a moment after we get through look at this article that are just mind-boggling. But let's continue. Reading a little further into the article, Already, sales of Bud Light are off 8% for the year. The blowback from the campaign was swift. Within days, singer Kid Rock posted a video showing him shoot cases of beer. But Williams said that when Bud Light brand manager Alyssa Gordon Heinerscheid took over marketing for the brand last year, sales of Bud Light were already slumping. She tried to increase sales with this campaign by trying to appeal to a younger, politically progressive market. Quote, her big miss was I don't think she understood who the core Bud Light shopper was. When she came out with her comments, they were deemed as being derogatory, insulting, and juvenile, and the Bud Light drinker said, enough of that, Williams said. Now, if you're wondering what he's referring to, there was a video that surfaced in very early April of Heinerscheid giving an interview where she was talking about how Bud Light drinkers were a fratty crowd. In other words, frat humor, college, very juvenile, that sort of thing. Basically, she's saying, without saying it, they're lacking of sophistication. And it was her job to try to bring in a more inclusive feel to the brand. Well, her idea of inclusive is absolutely taking Bud Light right down the tank. Reading a little bit further into this article, during the controversy, sales have shot up for Bud Light's biggest competitors, Miller Lite and Coors Light, Williams said. What is more, he's beginning to see what is known as a negative halo effect. Other Anheuser-Busch brands are suffering because of this dispute. Quote, I also think that what's happening now is that anybody that is a Bud Light drinker and switches to Michelob Ultra because they don't know or they don't want to be seen holding a Bud Light, someone down the bar is going to say, hey, buddy, that's an Anheuser-Busch product you're holding. The slowdown in sales of Michelob Ultra is of particular concern to Anheuser-Busch because it has been one of the fastest growing brands on the market, said David Steinman, vice president and executive editor of Beer Marketers Insights. Meanwhile, the company is taking heat from all sides. Now, if you thought it was bad before, listen to this. The anti-trans contingent is upset because of the association with Mulvaney, while the progressive contingent is upset by what it sees as backing down from the pro-trans statement made by sending Dylan Mulvaney the beer. According to Williams, the plunge in sales is hitting beer distributors especially hard, costing them millions of dollars every day. To stop the slide, Anheuser-Busch needs to cooperate with them and come up with a way to entice their former consumers back into the fold. I've got a comment about that here in a second. In addition, the corporation should remember who its customers are and apologize to them for abandoning them in their support of Dylan Mulvaney. Quote, right now their compass is completely broken. There is no game plan. Okay, I've got a few comments about this. With all due respect to Bump Williams Consulting and its founder, Mr. Bump Williams, I don't think there's going to be a way you can bring these buyers of beer back. They have seen what Anheuser-Busch believes in, and they're not happy about it. And it's going to be one of those situations where, in the mind of the beer drinker, you do this once, you'll do it again. Okay, you might issue an apology, which, frankly, I think they ought to anyway. But it's not going to do Anheuser-Busch any good here. Now, I could be dead wrong. Maybe with the passing of time, maybe with a lot of apologizing, the sales of Bud Light, start going back up. But I don't see that happening for the foreseeable future. I'm kind of inclined to believe if this thing keeps going through the summer, and it's altogether possible that it will, because it's just now the beginning of May. This thing's only been going on a month. And in 1 month, basically, the American people have managed to decline Bud Light sales for 8% for the year because of what they've done in 1 month. Imagine if this thing goes on through May, June, July, etc. I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that Modelo Especial could wind up at the end of the year being the number one best sales beer in this country. But no, I don't think an apology right now would do them any good. I think they ought to do it. I just don't think it's going to help. So, now, I said I'd show you some images. Take a look at this. Found this out on Twitter. This is from a Sam's Club up in Port Huron. Take a look at this. This will blow your mind. Let me start this back from the beginning. This is at a Sam's Club in Port Huron. Watch this. Well, as soon as my internet... Okay, here we go. Row on row of Michelob Ultra, Budweiser, Bud Light, and it's just sitting there. It's not moving. Ladies and gentlemen, this is amazing. Now, you get down the Miller Lite section, you can't find the stuff. Coors Light, can't find it. And Coors Light is costing like $18, I guess, what is that, for like a 24-can pack, something like that. But if it's a Anheuser Busch product, nobody's buying it. This is just amazing. And I'll show you one last reaction. This comes from the influencer Mike Cernovich. Sheer brutality. Conservatives have finally pulled off a massively successful boycott. I've never seen it happen, and I didn't think it would work. Shout out to Matt Walsh and others who've made this happen. Now, I want to riff, if I may, off of Cernovich's comments. I don't know if I'd say they finally pulled it off. With all due respect to Mike Cernovich, I say the American people are pulling it off. This isn't over with. Now, is it going to go on for a few more weeks, a few more months? I have no idea. But I think the American people have sent a message to corporate America about what they believe corporate America ought to be paying attention to and what they ought not be getting involved in. The message is very simple. Corporate America, you ought to be paying attention to we, the purchasing public, and you ought not be getting involved in woke SJW messaging of your products that's going to make us walk away. Keep in mind, sales of Bud Light are down 8% so far this year, and this boycott has only really been going for 1 month. That's how much damage you, the American people, have done to one of the biggest corporations in the world. So just think about all that, and it ought to help you realize something. When you're told or when you're implied that, one person can't make a difference, one person is not buying Bud Light beer. Another person is not buying Bud Light beer. And on and on and on. And all those one persons out there are making an absolute difference in this world. So just think about that. Anyway, just want to give you a quick update on what's going on. As always, please do me some favors. Number 1, if you're not a subscriber to this channel, please do so. Number 2, hit the bell for notifications. I want to make sure you're always aware when we're putting out a new video. Number 3, please share this video around and other videos that I have. I'd like to make sure that everybody knows the kind of content that we create here on the front porch. And I'd also like to give everybody the opportunity to see if there's something here that is their cup of tea. And finally, please give me a thumbs up on this video. It really helps. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your front porch conservative, and I'll see you next time.